Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm Judge Executive David Vogel, and we're happy to have you here today on the 7th day of June. I'd like to ask everybody who's able to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you brought a cell phone with you today, we'd ask that you turn it to off or vibrate because it interferes with our PA system if someone should happen to call you or send you a text. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Leslie. Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Sparks. Here. Magistrate Eldridge.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having 8 of the 9 members of the Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Judge,
Magistrate Eldridge.
I had 2 items. Number 1 was the Community Business D Stormwater Management District Ordinance. I'd like to see that removed. We had some questions on that. We're going to get with Mr. Carter. And then 2, after J is Resolution Flood Mitigation Assistance Grants. We'd like to add another item there on flood mitigation assistance grants for 17.
All right. Is there anything else? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Now I'll ask our clerk, Sheila Fair, to please read the minutes from the last meeting.
May 17th, 2016. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with County Attorney John Carter and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Bob Leslie, Steve Greenwell, J.D. Sparks, Kevin Eldridge, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Judge Executive Vogel was absent. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Leslie to appoint Magistrate Greenwell as chairman for this meeting. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Sparks to approve the agenda, adding erosion control bond release for Summit Park under Road Committee recommendations. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the minutes of May 3rd. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment. Bill Schmidt, 1110 Riverside Drive, Prospect, stated he and a group of homeowners along Riverside Drive are here for the Utilities Committee report on the FEMA grant applications. Magistrate Leslie spoke to the court regarding guidelines for address lettering and identification on homes and businesses to help ensure fire, police, and EMS services can quickly and easily locate your home or business. Postcard with important lettering guidelines will be distributed, and the Safety Committee is working towards an ordinance to address the issue. Kevin Jeffries, Planning Commission Board Chairman, spoke to the court regarding concerns relating to addressing assignments and like addresses that get mixed up. Oldham County Homemakers Presentation. Members of the Oldham County Homemakers presented information to the court relating to its program and services and invited Fiscal Court to its annual appreciation brunch June 7th. Oldham County Youth Football League presentation. Matt Lippy with Oldham County Youth Football League presented information to the court relating to its football league and programs, including hosting its first annual postseason tournament November 19th and 20th, anticipating many visitors to Oldham County. Registration is open and financial assistance is available. Go to www.ocyfl.org for more information. American Legion Oldham County Post 39 announcement. Albert Harrison announced the annual Memorial Day ceremony, 10 a.m. on May 30th at the Courthouse Square in LaGrange, sponsored by American Legion Oldham County Post 39, and invited the public to attend. Bid opening for Settlers Point Road resurfacing. The following sealed bids for Settlers Point Road resurfacing project were open and read aloud for the record. Hall Contracting, $106,025. Louisville Paving and Construction, $111,801. Matt Construction and Excavating, $113,497. Ohio Valley Asphalt, $93,287. Riverside Paving and Contracting, $103,153. Motion made by Magistrate Sparks and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Community Business, first reading for the fiscal year 16-17 budget. Magistrate Tice presented for a first reading proposed ordinance KOC 16-200-218 relating to the annual budget and appropriations for fiscal year 2016-17. The second reading will be June 7th. First reading, amendment to the golf cart ordinance. Magistrate Greenwell presented for a first reading proposed ordinance KOC 16-522-11, repealing and replacing ordinance KOC 15-520-71, relating to permitting the operation of golf carts on Oldham County roads. The second reading will be June 7th. Second reading, public hearing for Briarwood Road Assessment Ordinance. County Engineer Beth Stuber presented for a second reading proposed ordinance KOC 16-620-167, authorizing the expenditure of county funds to improve Briarwood Road and Borwick Farms 5, LaGrange, to county standards, to bring into the county road system, and impose a special assessment on all abutting property owners, and the floor was open for public comment. No one spoke in opposition of the ordinance. Owen Heslin, 2800 Briarwood, and Elsie O'Brien, 2801 Briarwood, spoke in support of the ordinance. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Sparks to adopt ordinance KOC 16-620-167, authorizing the expenditure of county funds to improve Briarwood Road and Borwick Farms 5, LaGrange, to county standards, to bring into the county road system and impose a special assessment on all abutting property owners. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge upon the recommendation of the county engineer to award the Briarwood Road project to Hall Contracting for $35,909.05. Motion carried unanimously. Second reading, public hearing, amendment to the alcohol control ordinance. Magistrate Leslie presented for a second reading proposed ordinance number KOC 16-410-181, repealing and replacing ordinance KOC 16-410-76, relating to the sale of alcohol beverages in Oldham County, and the floor was open for public comment. There being no public comment, the public hearing was closed. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Sparks to adopt ordinance KOC 16-410-181, repealing and replacing ordinance KOC 16-410-76, relating to the sale of alcohol beverages in Oldham County. Motion carried unanimously. Committee recommendations and reports. The Road Committee, motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Leslie upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the $20,225 erosion control bond for Morgan Place subdivision, Section 1. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Sparks upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the $247,000 erosion control bond for Walmart in Crestwood. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the $46,000 performance bond and the $30,000 erosion control bond for Summit Park subdivision, sections 1A and 1B. Motion carried unanimously. Utilities Committee report, FEMA flood mitigation assistance grants. Magistrate Eldridge presented an update on the FEMA Flood Mitigation Assistance Grant Program that annually awards federally funded grants to local communities for projects that reduce or eliminate long-term risk of recurrent flood damage to properties. Discussion followed. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to move forward and continue sponsorship of FMA grant applications by county property owners. Motion carried unanimously. Contracts, agreements, and resolutions. CMRS Grant Award Agreement. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Tice to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the 2015 CMRS Grant Award Agreement relating to call-taking protocol for Oldham County 911 Center. Motion carried unanimously. Resolution accepting 2016 County Road List. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to authorize the Judge Executive to sign Resolution Number 0105-1716 relating to accepting newly constructed roads into the county road system as listed in the Oldham County's 2016 Road Rating Book. Motion carried 6-1 on a roll call vote. The following magistrates voted yes: Tice, Leslie, Greenwell, Eldridge, Dye, and Logsdon. Magistrate Sparks voted no. Personnel actions and board appointments. For maintenance, motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to hire Scott Compton as Recycling Center Manager at $15.76 an hour effective May 18, 2016. Motion carried unanimously. For the Road Department, motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to hire Joseph Bricker as Equipment Operator 1 at $13.50 an hour effective May 18th. Motion carried unanimously. For Parks and Recreation, motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Dye to accept the resignation of Paige Retfield effective June 3rd. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Leslie and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the following personnel actions for Parks and Recreation. Hire Micah Reynolds as Parks Laborer at $13.77 an hour, effective May 18th. Hire Savannah Martin as Building Monitor at $7.25 an hour, effective May 18th. And approve the attached list of 2016 Aquatic Center seasonal staff. Motion carried unanimously. Second public comment. Cindy Harbin at 1220 Riverside Drive and Bill Schmidt, 1110 Riverside Drive, spoke to the court in support of continuing the flood mitigation project for residents on Riverside Drive and thanked the court for moving forward with the grant applications. Other business and announcements. Magistrate Logsdon announced South Oldham Fire Department's annual 5K Run and Walk and the Firefighter Challenge, May 28th at 7 p.m., benefiting the Crusade for Children. Call 241-8992 for more information. Magistrate Dye stated Brownsboro Alliance Trail Program is holding its Youth Experience 2016 camp for 12 to 17-year-olds, June 13th through the 17th. For more information, call 645-1870. Magistrate Eldridge stated LaGrange Farmers Market opened last weekend and had a great turnout despite the weather. He thanked Magistrate Greenwell for chairing today's meeting. Magistrate Sparks encouraged everyone to get out and vote, and he announced the NRAs in Louisville this weekend. Magistrate Tice, upon the recommendation of County Attorney John Carter, presented additional information relating to the proposed budget for fiscal year 16-17 to best summarize the ordinance for first reading. Magistrate Tice read into record page 3 of the proposed ordinance, including the total budget amount of $59,197,565.76 and the breakdown of all county funds. Magistrate Greenwell expressed condolences to the family of Constable George Parrish, who passed away last week. He encouraged the community to attend the annual Memorial Day ceremony, 10 a.m. Monday, May 30th, at the Courthouse Square in LaGrange. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously, and the meeting was adjourned at 3:30 p.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from the May 17th meeting. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Any discussion, corrections? Magistrate Likens?
Yes, sir. I also missed a meeting last time, so at the beginning, I
Mark
need
is
to be
present
listed
here.
as absent, and the motion to adjourn could not have been made by me since I wasn't.
I agree, that couldn't have been made by you. Make those corrections. Any other corrections? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Abstain? 2 abstentions, myself and Magistrate Likens. Too, would like to thank Magistrate Greenwell for running last week's meeting. Couldn't be in town on the day of the meeting because of a family illness, but appreciate your service. Thank you very much. I did notice that Magistrate Eldridge thanked you for running the meeting, but no one ever thanks me for running the meeting.
Thank you, Judge.
We got out of here by 3:30.
I see, okay. I understand. It's unlikely that's going to happen today, but they have a tendency to go on. I do want to make a couple announcements before we get going here. One is that on May 31st, I signed a proclamation making it Robert Reed Day in Oldham County. Mr. Reed is someone who has lived in the county since 1978, but as other retirees, he's moved further south where the weather is warmer. We certainly wished him the best and issued a proclamation to him. He received an Eagle Scout designation in 1952. He became a scout leader in Oldham County when he moved here from New Jersey. He was at the Crestwood United Methodist Church. He proudly served in the Army, and he worked for GE for 25 years. And he was a volunteer with the Upward Basketball program, and is certainly deserving of our appreciation and respect for having been a valuable member of the Oldham County community. So we wished him the best, and I wanted to announce that that proclamation had been issued. I also want to announce that we heard during the meeting, or during the minutes, that George Parrish had passed away. George was the elected constable in District 8. I intend to make another appointment very shortly to fill that position. The person I've chosen for it is Steve Sakima. Steve has been a resident of Oldham County for the last several years. He has extensive law enforcement experience in Virginia and other places. He was also with the U.S. Marshal Service. I think he'll be a very fine representative of the community as a constable. Constables don't have an extensive number of duties in Oldham County, although they are a constitutional position. We work with constables. Constables work with our law enforcement agency here as needed to help provide security in the community. So I'm very happy to be able to appoint Steve Sakima to this position, and it will become vacant again in November. When a person dies during their regular term, the judge executive makes an appointment to fill that term, but then that position becomes vacant at the next election, and anyone who would like to seek that office is able to do so.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
Does Mr. Sakima know that he has to secure a bond?
Yes, right.
Okay.
That's really, I said I was going to appoint him in the near future, and that's what we're waiting for, is for him to get the bond. Right. Thank you. Measured Sparks.
Why aren't we hiring him up for our police department?
Well, you'd have to ask him that. We have applicants for the police department, and I think his age may have something to do with that.
Okay.
He's essentially retired, but is certainly able to do the job and do it well. I'd also like to mention here that some interesting news passed by my desk this morning, and I think it'll be of interest to the health department as well. A mortality study done by the University of Virginia has identified Oldham County as having a county with the longest life expectancy of residents of any county of Kentucky. In Oldham County, if you're born here or live here, life expectancy is to age 79. There are other counties in Kentucky, unfortunately, that because of poverty and access to health care, other factors can dip all the way down to 70 years old, and that's, of course, a 9-year difference. So we're very fortunate to have what we do here, and certainly appreciate that, and wish other counties could rise to the same level we are. But I think it's worth noting that Oldham County residents have the longest life expectancy of any county in Kentucky. So that was announced today. Time now for public comment. That's the time during our meeting when, if you have something you'd like to address the fiscal court with, you're able to do so. We allow up to 4 minutes for public comment. I'd start with the provision, though, that if you are here to address any ordinance that we may be addressing today, we would ask you to withhold your comments until the time the ordinance is addressed. Public comment is really for other items that may be presented to the fiscal court. So if there's anybody here, you're certainly welcome to come forward at this time. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public comment section and go on to the first item on our agenda today, and that's a presentation from the Oldham County Health Department. And I'd like to ask our director, Teresa, to come forward, and Teresa Gamsky, and present the information you have. And I know that you presented every member of the fiscal court with a T-shirt, or I guess that's a T-shirt, that says "Fight the Bite."
Yes, sir.
So we want to know what that's about.
Well, thank you for your time today, Fiscal Court. I know your agenda is packed, so we're going to make this a short presentation. However, we know that the role and responsibility of the health department is to prevent and mitigate contagious disease. So we're presenting today in light of the current threat to our community regarding the spread of the Zika virus. We've all probably seen information on the the news and everything about it. So we wanted you to know what measures and interventions we're taking at the local level. Here today with me is our EPI response team, and what that consists of is expertise from an epidemiologist, which is the study of disease, our registered sanitarian, a public health registered nurse, and our emergency preparedness planner. Also with us today is our medical director, Dr. Madonna Ringswald. This notice is timely to our community due to the fact that our community often travels in and out of the community during the summer months. Therefore, we are issuing this public health notice specifically regarding people traveling to and from Central and South America, the Pacific Islands, and the Caribbean. It can also include travel to and from Southeast Asia and Africa. So as you know, we often have many mission trips or people traveling for vacation or business during the summer months, and so this is imperative information that we need to be aware of. The Zika virus is spread, as many of us know, commonly through the bite of an infected mosquito. The most common symptoms of Zika are fever, rash, joint pain, and conjunctivitis. However, about 80% of people don't show any symptoms at all. And currently, there is no vaccine for the Zika virus at this time. Although the most common way the Zika virus is transmitted is through that bite of the mosquito, there's other ways for the virus to be transmitted, and that can be transmitted through sexual contact, and it also, of course, can be transferred from mother to baby. So therefore, we want to, what the advisories are out now currently with the CDC, and again, these advisories are changing almost daily, is that we recommend that condoms be used from approximately 8 weeks to 6 months after travel from one of these affected areas or a confirmation of disease. So that's just kind of a Zika in a nutshell a little bit. I hope you wear your Fight to Bite t-shirts proudly in the community, and if you get questions from community members, please direct them to the health department. And Megan Hurst, our epidemiologist, is going to come up and give you some directives of how the community can get their questions answered concerning the Zika virus.
Hi there. Like she said, my name's Megan. I'm the new epidemiologist for Oldham County, and I'm going to set my, I guess this is it.
Turn it around so like
Turn it
you're
around this
reading.
way. Okay. This is my contact information for anyone who would like to write it down. But like Teresa said, I'm the new epidemiologist for the county, so basically I track the disease that comes in and out and make sure that we're not causing any problems, and just make sure that everyone's staying happy and healthy here in Oldham County. So basically here in Kentucky we do have 6 confirmed cases of Zika, all of which are traveler cases. 2 are within pregnant women. So far, we do have an open line of communication with all the physicians and clinicians within the county to disseminate information to them in terms of what they should be doing for testing, just basic education information, and that kind of thing, and what kind of samples they should be looking for. Right now, the state requires both blood and urine samples, in which the health department is happy to take those as we have the stuff ready. And as Teresa had mentioned, the symptoms are fever, rash, joint pain, and conjunctivitis. And like she also said, 80% of people are not going to display any symptoms, which makes it very hard to track such a disease. And most people don't even realize they have it. So it manifests itself within a week, and people go on about their way. So the biggest part of Zika so far is that we've seen that it causes microcephaly, but it can also cause hearing deficits and impaired growth throughout the child's infancy. So we're really focusing on getting our ERT team out there and really getting the information that we can to individuals in the county so that when they do travel, they're going safely and they are wearing their insect repellent when they need to, and having a great summer. So that's all I have.
Did you say that there are 2 infected individuals in the community now? Did I hear
Not
that
in the
right?
county. They're in the state of
In
Kentucky.
the state of Kentucky,
Yes.
who are pregnant?
Who are pregnant, yes.
All right.
And oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, answer.
The state is operating on a level 3, or activated at level 3 to coordinate ESF 8 planning and preparedness activities, and that is partial activation, so.
Okay, thank you. Asher Sparks?
So are you saying, you said the infection period was like 8 weeks or something like that? Or did you say 8 days? My question is, once somebody, if I'm traveling and I get bitten and I get it, do I have it forever, or is it something that's like a virus that just goes away after a certain number of days and then I can't pass it on to anybody?
From what we know so far, the virus does go away. It is suggested that males who do display symptoms of Zika, in terms of like reproductive terms, use protection for if you are infective and displaying symptoms, you're going to use those methods for 6 months. If you're not showing any symptoms, it's at least suggested that you use them for 8 weeks. So,
I'm thinking possibly that the male can keep the virus up to 3 to 6 months in the prostate and pass the virus along. So men, more than women, can potentially
Could you
pass the
speak
virus
to the
along
microphone,
longer.
Doctor?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Men can keep the virus in the prostate don't sit down, you're 3 to 6 months longer because of keeping it in the prostate. And so that's how they pass it along. And that's why the recommendation that men use condoms. And there's 300 cases right now in the United States. One baby has been born with an abnormality at this time. And, you know, the testing is so expensive that the only thing we have right now is prevention. And so that's why it's so important as health departments throughout the United States that we all are aware of prevention and what to do with prevention, you know, because it is a possibility, since we have the mosquito that can carry it in the United States, for us to start thinking about that and protecting us and our children.
Can you catch it from somebody like through saliva or anything like that, or no? And it can't go from animals to people, correct? I mean, like
Mosquitoes.
When, I'm curious about, I know that the babies that are infected here can be born with an abnormally small head, is that correct?
Hydrocephalus, but there's other abnormalities too. And an adult can have manifestations neurologically as well. Guillain-Barré syndrome, where you become completely paralyzed and have to be on a ventilator for a period of time, most of whom do resolve from that and come off, can be caused by the Zika virus. But they're working on testing, and there's a possibility that there's going to be cheaper testing, and, you know, we're going to have some information about being able to test people more thoroughly rather than having to, you know, go through the Kentucky Health Department and the CDC. So hopefully that testing will come through and it'll be a less expensive form and it'll be offered more freely at the hospitals rather than just through CDC. But at this point, it has to go through the state of Kentucky first.
Judge, next up would be Charlie Ward. Charlie's a registered sanitarian with us. He's going to come up and give the community some practical advice on how we can prevent, again, the spread of disease. And again, I would encourage anyone who has a question to call Megan Hurst at the Oldham County Health Department, and Megan will triage those calls according to where they need to go, and we have an assessment that we perform and work with Frankfurt regarding further testing of the Zika virus. Charlie?
Hello, Magistrates. I'm Charlie Ward. I'm your Health Environmentalist at the Health Department. Mainly my role involved in this will be any notice of complaints and abatement and treatment. Right now, our disposal, whenever someone calls with concern of dilapidated pools or tires on properties, I'm the one that will follow up and either ask those businesses to remove those objects. Anything that's containing water is a breeding ground for this mosquito. What we're asking is any commercial businesses and churches to basically assess their property, see if they have any ponding or standing water on there and what they can do to help treat that abatement. I do have some larvicide at my disposal, so if a homeowner should call and say, hey, there's a pool next to my next door neighbor. They never use it. It's just full of rainwater. I can go over there, get permission from the homeowner to treat that pool, so then for the time being, the mosquitoes that were in that pool will be contained and killed for the time being. A lot of times people are calling, mainly it's going to be proactiveness in the community. I can't find every bit of puddle of water that's out there, but I will respond to them on as a call basis. Really, it's going to be a lot of just prevention is what we're preaching. It's at night is when mosquitoes are out, wearing repellents, wearing long sleeve shirts, just trying to what you can do to prevent yourself from being bitten from mosquitoes in the first place. But we are actively treating areas where they are bred. So, does anyone have any questions or concerns?
Magistrate Likens.
I had one question. I read where that science now has the technology through gene manipulation to get rid of mosquitoes. And I'm like, do that.
That would be
But I did
fantastic.
read where it kills like 280,000 people a year with malaria and now the Zika.
Yes.
But
The
as compared
concern
to like
before was-
sharks, kill 6.
Right,
you
was the
know.
West Nile virus before, so we're kind of jumping off of that before. It's kind of a different virus, but same concern. We're treating the mosquitoes as we can and prevention on humans as much as possible. So,
All right, thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'd like to present.
Okay.
I'd like to
Dr.
present.
Madonna Ringswald.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
I'd
all
like
right.
to just present to you some basic patient information on Zika virus for each one of you.
Okay.
I don't know if I made enough, but you can
All
make
right,
copies.
we can certainly make copies. Thank you. Thank you. Happy to have you here today to alert the community. Things seem like a long way away until they happen to you or to have someone you know. You mentioned that Zika is prevalent in Central and South America and also in Asia. And it just happened last Friday. Within the span of about 35 to 40 minutes, I had communicated by email with someone in South America and someone in Japan. So it was, I was kind of amazed that I was talking around the world to two different people, but it is a small world, and people from our county do leave, do come back, so we all need to be aware of what we can do to improve, say, the health and welfare of the community. Thank you for these. Okay. Move on. The next item on today's agenda has to do with the presentation and request for rate approval from the Oldham County Environmental Authority. I believe Art Henson is here representing the Environmental Authority. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm Art Henson, Treasurer of the Oldham County Environmental Authority, and with me today is Kevin Gibson. He's with Veolia, our contractor who runs our plants for us. Today is a budget request for our 16-17 fiscal year, and we're projecting in our budget total revenue of $6.2 million and change, and total expenses of $6.2 million and change. So the budget is basically balanced. It shows $1,800 surplus, but the budget is put together in order to provide us with sufficient cash flow to meet our debt service requirements. And our debt service requirements requires that we have sufficient cash flow from operations to be 1.05% times the annual requirement for our debt. So we build towards that 1.05 debt service requirement. We start out, first of all, by estimating our expenses for the fiscal year, using that to work backwards towards the revenue that we need to generate for the fiscal year to provide us with sufficient cash flow to provide our debt service requirements. So as part of that, then, what we're asking for today, in order for us to have the revenue that we need to provide us with the cash flow to meet our debt service requirement, we're asking two things, basically. A 5% increase in our normal charges and a $2.77 increase in what we call our CapEx or compliance surcharge. That surcharge is based upon our debt requirements. We look at our debt requirements from the last fiscal year to the debt requirements for the current fiscal year and determine what it is that we need in revenue to provide us the source of cash flow to provide for that service requirement. And the 5% rate increase then provides us with the operating revenue to fund all of our other operating expenses for the sewer district for the fiscal year. So basically, we're looking at two things, $2.77 in our compliance surcharge and a 5% increase in our basic surcharge to our customers for water and sewage treatment. That averages out to a person who would use 4,000 gallons. That's just an average number that we come up with just to be able to say, what does 4,000 gallons cost us extra? $4.98 this fiscal year versus the previous fiscal year. So that's basically our budget request this year, 5% increase in basic rate and $2.70 in our compliance rate, of total $4.98 for 4,000. I'm sorry, a month. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'd like to ask Magistrate Eldridge, does the Utility Committee have an opinion on this request?
Thank you, Judge. Art and also Stan, our CEO, came today to the Utilities Committee. Frankly, we are loath to bring this forward. I have gotten calls from people upset about their bills. I know Magistrate Logston has. This is a situation where we have a very small number of people that are really on sewers in the county that are asked to take care of this. On the other hand, they are the only ones that are benefiting from it. We do not see any way, after talking to Art and hearing from Stan Clark, our CEO, of getting by this without the raise. We bought into some very poor business when we started with the sewer plants years ago, but obviously we did that prior to any of our time, but it was done in order to help the citizens. This 277 on the CapEx is much smaller than it has been in the past. In the last 2 years, the raise has been a combined of $12.80. The 5% increase in the regular rate, again, the last 2 years has been combined for 15%. So we have a motion from the Utilities Committee. I will tell you it was a split vote to bring this forward for a vote at Fiscal Court, and I would make that motion at this time.
Right, is there a motion to second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, the fiscal court approved the 5% rate increase and the CapEx surcharge requested. How much?
277.
277, all right. Discussion, please. Magistrate Sparks.
Yeah, just to clarify, when you gave that example, 4,000 gallons, then you said $4.98 increase. That's per month, right?
Correct.
Because you said per year. It's
Per
not a
month.
big deal. Okay. Isn't there some kind of regulation that if we increase their taxes over 4%, it has to go to a vote?
Not taxes.
This isn't a tax, it's a utility charge.
Yeah.
There's a specific service provided for this charge. So it's not a tax. Magistrate Dye.
I believe what Magistrate Sparks is talking about is the Public Service Commission in Frankfurt. I believe there's certain things that they do have to approve rate increases on, but I don't believe sewers are not one of them. I think it's phone and, I could be wrong here, but I think it's phone and electric. I don't think it's water or sewer.
Anybody else like to say anything about it? Magistrate Likens?
Yes, sir. I'm going to quote Ronald Reagan again when he said the most dangerous thing about inflation is the acceptance of inflation. It seems like every year we come up here and we want another rate increase. I don't know if we could trim our budgets or if there's any way to keep that from going up every year, but last year I was kind of upset about it, and I'm voting against it. So just wanted to let that be known.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. As Magistrate Eldridge pointed out, we got in the sewer business back in 1996, and we bought a bunch of package treatment plants that were at the end of their lifespan then. We've since patched them up, made them work, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. Frankfurt, it seems like, did not say anything to the operators that owned those at the time, but as soon as we bought them, here they came. And so we had to fix them, fast. And so we had to pour a lot of money into infrastructure to solve these problems, or else we wouldn't get fined $25,000 a day by the EPA. As far as trimming budgets, we had Stan Clark come in and explain to us as best he could about the budget and the process and everything. You have a number that you have to maintain, and it's 1.05, or else you're going to get kicked. And Frankfurt is eating our lunch every day about, clean up, and don't pollute the streams. If we backed off of this 1 year, it would just magnify the problems. And so while I, as Magistrate Eldridge said, am loath to do this, I don't see any other way to do it. I mean, you've got to, and we have projections in the near future where this will be flat, no raise at all or very, very little. The 6 cents is what is projected 2 years from now. So anyway, while, I don't want to do this, I just have to hold my nose and do it.
Magistrate Dye.
What Magistrate Greenwell talked about was purchasing these package plants back when they did. It was a misdirected purchase, at least in my estimation, but what history is history. What has been brought up today, speaking of this increase, is I'm on MSD, so I'm looking at a 20% increase. Part of my district's on MSD, part of it's on Crestwood sewers, and part of it's on Oldham County sewers. The part that I'm glad that this is as small as it is, because I'm looking at 20%, but then one thing, if you had not done what the money was spent to upgrade the sewers, put all the patches and Band-Aids and all that they've done over the years, there would have been a consent decree in Oldham County, and here again, I live in Oldham, but I have MSD sewers. I pay $27 a month consent decree, and I've been paying it for 15 years, and if I live another 15 years, I'll keep paying it, and there is no end in sight. That is a figure that Oldham County sewer, people that use Oldham County sewers, the subscribers, could have been charged with if they didn't do what they did. Again, $4.98 a month is a lot. I understand there are some people that's a lot. At 5%, I'm looking at 20% and the $27 consent decree. It's unfortunate, but it's the cost of doing business. Their expenses go up. But I do have one question with this. How much of the increase, and I'm not trying to catch you flat-footed here, how much of the increase would you contribute, either dollars and cents or a percentage, due to debt service? In other words, paying back money or the interest on the money, or however you want to phrase it.
That's the CapEx surcharge, $2.77. That's the increase in our debt service from the previous fiscal year to what the current fiscal year requirements are. We factor in what that number is and come up with the rate that's required to pay that debt service, $2.77.
And have you taken on additional debt in the last year? I know this.
Well, we borrowed $10 million to build this new plant, which just went online yesterday, so that's very good for us. But that $10 million will have to be paid off over 20 years. And so, yes, that is our big debt load that we have just now started realizing maybe some revenue that will start paying back that debt load. So if we can get more customers, that'll help out greatly. And that's what we need is more customers. Probably commercial customers instead of residential. Residential doesn't provide a lot of bang for the buck for us. Commercial does. So by having this new plant and the ability to accept more flow, hopefully more commercial businesses will come to Oldham County and we can have them tap on our system, pay us a nice tap-on fee, and pay us a monthly fee. That's the only way we can survive, is have more customers. We need more customers. The customer base we have today is there. Those people, I'm sorry, they bear the brunt of it. We need more people to share that cost. And it's just economic development. That's all we can say.
But the commercial subscribers they're not going to abate these increases, they're going to slow them down.
They're going to slow them down.
You're not going to get back to zero.
No.
Not in any time.
There's not going to be enough of that to take the burden off of everybody,
Right.
but it will slow it down, yes.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Magistrate Dye, you mentioned the term consent decree. I'm sure there are some people in the room who do not understand what that is. Would you like to explain that?
Well, I'll give it my best shot, Judge. The consent decree, from my understanding, I believe Kevin Gibson would probably could answer that better than I. Could you, Kevin? You're in the sewer business. I believe that's a penalty for not doing what the government tells what you're supposed to do. So it's a penalty, and it's it's just a fine, isn't it, basically?
This is Kevin Gibson, who is Veolia manager.
Yes, sir. My name is Kevin Gibson, Field Services Manager for OSEA, Veolia Water Incorporated. A consent decree, in a nutshell, is basically an agreement between a utility district and the federal and state government that you will do X amount of dollars of projects in X amount of time. What you're talking about at MSD, theirs is I'm gonna get the numbers wrong, $850 million consent decree over 25-year period.
Correct, but the $27 I pay doesn't go towards that $850 million of
No.
expense. That's a
No.
penalty
That's-
for not doing what they should have done in the time frame they were given. They're going to say, okay, it's going to be $27 to spend $850 million.
Correct.
But we're fine, we're keeping the 27, you come up with the $850 million.
That's correct.
And
Yes.
that's what didn't occur in Oldham County due to the fact that we were able to stay ahead of that avalanche. You would still have what you got here, maybe more, but then you still have that additional charge,
That's
correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So, I mean, it could be worse, but I mean, it's not as bad as it could be.
Thank you. Magistrate Sparks.
So what exactly is your total debt?
Oh, well, let's see here. I've got a schedule. It is $22,247,000.
That includes the 10 million that you just added?
Yes. Mhm.
All right. And with your payment plan to pay off your current debt, when do you foresee you not having to come back and increase this each year?
If we incur no more debt, if we just pay on what we have today, we're projected to be 2 years from now, instead of a $2.77 increase, a 6-cent increase. That's if no more debt. And I can't promise that. We've
Well,
got.
do you have a plan to bring on more
We have
debt?
things we have to do that's going to cause more debt.
So you do have things planned, though, that will impact your debt?
We have to take Ash Avenue offline because of the state
How much?
requirements. Depending upon how we vote or how we decide to go with Ash Avenue. Do we take a pipeline from Ash Avenue all the way over to the new plant at I-71?
Can you
About $6
project
million?
just a little bit? I think some people may be having a hard time hearing you, so just
Okay.
speak a little louder.
If we take, we have to take Ash Avenue offline, so we have two choices. We can take a pipeline from Ash Avenue all the way over to I-71 where our new plant is today. That's maybe $6 million to do that. Or maybe we can negotiate with MSD. What would you charge us to take the customers that are currently pumping into Ash Avenue? What would that cost us? Because they're going to charge us to take those people, plus they're going to get then the monthly revenue. But we don't know yet what that number is. When you look at a 20% increase on their current rates, what they would charge us to take those people could be significant. And we don't know if it's more or less than $6 million. But we have to get Ash Avenue offline. That's one of the package plants that's got to go. We've got four others that have to go. So there's a lot of things that have to be done in the next, 10 years? Kevin, or 20 on the, how much? 10 years. We have a 10-year mandate from the state of Kentucky to get the remaining plants offline.
So what you're
Ash Avenue
saying,
being one.
so what you're saying in a nutshell is, the projection that 2 years down the road, it'll be just a 6-cent increase is not valid, because actually, you're going to have to increase much more significantly in the near future.
We have to.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I'd rather you just say it that way than try and make it seem like, oh, you'll get a break here in a couple of years. Be honest with us, and that way we can evaluate
Right.
the situation. Thank
Well,
you.
then honestly, we have to take Ash Avenue offline, and it will cost money to take it offline.
Magistrate Tice.
Do we have capacity in your plants now, so that as you start to take people off the package plants that will have capacity to add them, or are you going to have to make more investment in the plants?
We should be able
the
to
new
pipe
plant?
them to the new plants. Kevin would know.
Hello. Currently, we have capacity in Ohio River plant.
Project so everybody can hear you. Okay.
Currently, we have capacity in Ohio River plant. We currently have capacity in our South Oldham Regional Plant facility that just started yesterday. We turned the valve for Willow Creek Pump Station, now actually goes to the South Oldham Regional Facility. We did a job this morning to take Orchard Grass Plant offline. That will also go to the South Oldham Regional Facility. That also has capacity. So right now, we have 2 plants that have capacity, and our plant at KSR currently has minimal capacity, but it does have capacity for growth.
But even after you add the one at Orchard Grass and the one at, the other one you were talking about, those, you'll still have additional capacity
Yes,
in the new plant you just
in the new
opened?
plant, correct. Yes, sir.
Venture to say what percentage maybe?
It's a 1.25 million gallon plant. I would say once Orchard Grass is in there at regular flow, we would probably have about 35%, 40% left to go. Okay? Now, we do have some I&I rain problems. I'm sure Magistrate Likens knows all about that, the I&I issues. But well, I would say 35 to 40%. Okay? Yes, sir.
Magistrate
Yes.
Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. I would just like to thank Magistrate Dyer for pointing out about the consent decree. And if the sewer district hadn't spent the money that they did when they did, that's probably what we'd be looking at right now.
You know, you've heard the saying, it's pay me now, pay me later.
Right. We paid it then, so we don't have to later.
Yeah, and
Manager
that's one more
Tice.
thing that I'd like to say is, I'm on the Oldham County Sewer District and appreciate you all doing all the work you do. It's kind of like sometimes it's a no-win job, but thank goodness we have good people like yourselves out there working towards it, because we need our sewers. And it's only those that are on it, using it, like the judge said earlier, the ones that are paying the money that we're talking about now. So it doesn't affect the rest of the citizens.
Thank you very much.
Magistrate Logston.
Yes, sir. Let me ask you a question. On the operating expenses, and you might not know this right offhand, but it looks like they're going up $276,000 for this year. Is that part of working on the plant, or what is
That's
it?
the operating cost of the new plant.
Okay, I'm just,
Talking about two and a half, what we call full-time equivalent people to run that plant, plus utilities and insurance is about what that's going to cost us.
I understand you're always wanting the increase. I'm going to have to vote no on this increase, just because I can't, it's just hard for me to believe you can't find 5% somewhere to cut. I mean, if you just keep getting money, of course you're never going to cut. But I have to cut my budget at home like everybody else has to cut their budget. So I'm going to vote no on it, but I want to thank you all for all the hard work you do for it. I know you cut it down to the bone, but there has to be something that you cut to make that work. That's just my position on it. So thank you.
Anybody else have a comment? Mr. Carter?
Yeah, I can explain what the consent decree was. It's one of those friendly federal lawsuits where the EPA sued MSD in federal court in 2005, and MSD agreed that they were polluting and agreed it was going to cost $1 billion to correct it. And so the people that get serviced by MSD had to pay the $1 billion. and they've amended it since then. I don't know what the amendment is, but that's what the consent decree is.
Thank you. Art, thank you very much. The members of our Oldham County Environmental Authority Board are all volunteers. I want to remind everyone that they don't get paid to, rack their brain on this subject. Most of us flush our commode and don't think anything more about it. But there's a series of pipes and plants and pumping stations around this county that have to be maintained for us to have a clean environment, and I appreciate the thought process and work that you put in to be on this board. It's not an easy board. There's a lot of challenges with it, and there are no easy solutions to the problems that are pushed at us. We have our own problems of shutting down these package plants that are built up over the years, and then we're under continuous pressure from the State Division of Water, and they're under pressure from the EPA and so forth, and all pressure runs downhill, and that's why it winds up in Osea. So
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you. All right, there's a motion and second on the floor. I'm going to ask all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I said no.
All right, it
Logston
was,
said no.
Logston, Sparks, and Likens. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the payables here. We have our bills under tab A.
Judge, I'd like to make a motion to accept the payables.
Is there a second on that, did I hear? Second. Okay, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. All right, at this point, I'm going to conduct a short public hearing here regarding our county road aid funds and local government economic assistance funds that come from the state. Our budget has been posted on the website for the last 2 weeks, and in the budget, our county road aid funds and what we call LGEA funds. The public hearing is to allow anyone in the community who would like to address the fiscal court in regard to how these funds should be spent to do so. County road aid funds obviously go for projects in the county that have to do with improving surface transportation. And economic assistance funds can go for a variety of projects that come to us, that most of them, they flow through. We get a grant from somewhere to do something specific, and we use that money for that. So is there anyone here who would like to address our budget in regard to county road aid funds or local government assistance funds? Saying no one, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting and go on to the next item on the agenda, and that's the second reading of the Oldham County budget. Magistrate Tice.
Yes, we'd like to have the second reading of our budget. It's KOC 16-200-218 in the amount of $59,197,565.81. So I'll make that motion that we approve that.
Second.
This budget has also been, on the website. Our budget is significantly higher this year than it has been in other years because of $27 million allocated for the new county detention center being built. We're not going to borrow all that money at once. We're going to borrow it as needed in several different borrowing methods from between short and long term to keep our expense in relation to interest expense for the jail down. And of course, some money for the jail is coming from county reserves. I would also add so that the general fund budget is actually $44.4 million. On roads, we have 3.1 designated for this year. For the jail, 2.2 million. That's the operating expense of the jail. Part of the operating expense is offset by county or by inmates that come from other counties and also from the state and federal government. The actual amount of money that the Oldham County transferred from our general fund to our jail fund this last year was roughly $900-some thousand, I believe is the number. So the difference comes from outside inmates who are kept in the jail. And local government assistance funds are $8.2 million. Our dispatch, county 911 services, $1,084,000, and those are the main items in the agenda. So there's too much to the agenda to break it all down line by line. The magistrates have had it. Our finance committee has studied it carefully for the last, I'd say, several weeks, 5-6 weeks, something like that. And it's been on the website, and the other magistrates have had it. So is there anyone who would like to discuss any items in the agenda? Magistrate Sparks.
Yeah, Judge. Page 8, the tax rates for the year, those are all going to remain the same, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. And in here, we have the salaries for the magistrates, and I'm going to vote against the budget just because I don't want to increase the salaries. I think we mentioned that before, but that's the only reason I'm voting no on it.
Well, all right, sure, okay. I believe the magistrate's salary increase was 0.7%.
Yes, sir.
Our real property tax rate here is 9 cents. It's been that for at least 10 years. The entire time I've been on the fiscal court, the property tax rate has not increased. Personal property tax is 11.8 cents. Bank deposit rate tax is, I believe, 2.5 mils, which is a very small number. Motor vehicle, 13.3 cents. Watercraft, 11.8 cents. So all those county tax rates stay exactly the same. So is there anyone else who has a question they'd like to address the fiscal court with? Seeing none, will you, I'll ask our clerk to take a roll. All right. This is a public hearing as well, so I'm going to ask if there are any persons in the audience here today who would like to speak in opposition or in favor of some aspect of the budget. And what I'm going to ask you to do is raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And would you like to state your name and address, please?
Yeah, I'm Jim Allen from 1416 Oldham View in LaGrange. When I reviewed the budget, I just had one question. I think it's really an issue of trying to understand it. I saw the debt service on the loan, on the debts, the payments on the debt service, but I couldn't tell whether any of the principal was being paid down. Are we just paying the amount we owe on the debt service, or are we also paying down on principal?
No, we're paying down principal as well.
Okay.
If you ask a specific thing, I'd give you a specific answer. But
No, that's okay. I
we're-
just couldn't find it, and I just wanted to ask to
Right,
make sure.
yeah, we're in a reduction on all debt service.
Thank you.
Right. Are there any other questions here today? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and one I'm going to, I believe we pretty well discussed it. Does anybody else have any comments to make?
I would only say to him, if the gentleman you want to ask about if you need some questions about our budget is sitting right there in the white shirt next to you, Stan Clark, and he's a wealth of information.
All right, I'm going to ask our clerk now to take a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Dye,
Yes.
Magistrate Eldridge,
Yes.
Magistrate Likens,
Yes.
Magistrate Tice,
Yes.
Magistrate Greenwell,
Yes.
Magistrate Sparks,
No.
Magistrate Logsdon,
Yes.
and Judge Vogel.
Yes. With 7 of the 8 members present here, the motion passes. Yeah, right. Now I'm going to ask for a motion here for all of it, for the standing orders to be approved. We have a certain number of things that we ask that automatically be approved. You notice that we approve payables, certain bills come in. These get paid, but there are some things that we pay automatically that just go on, or repeated bills, the water bill, the light bill, just reoccurring salaries, reoccurring expenses. So I'd like to ask.
I make that motion, Judge.
Pardon?
I make the motion that we have you sign those things.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded that I be allowed to sign the reoccurring expenses, and we move forward with that. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. And let's see here. I think we got it all here, didn't we? Next item on the agenda now will be the second reading of our fireworks enforcement ordinance, and I'd like to call on Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. We would like to introduce our ordinance number KOC 16-820-207, which is an ordinance establishing the regulation of fireworks within the county, providing for enforcement and penalties. This was done with a lot of work by Magistrate Leslie, who is not here right now, but it is an ordinance much like any other law in our country, which is essentially common sense. This sets parameters like the speed limit on a road. It doesn't, it gives discretionary power to our police officers. When someone's driving 36 miles an hour in a 35, we don't have to give them a ticket, but it gives us a parameter to establish when someone has violated the law. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept this ordinance.
For a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Now, before we proceed with discussion among the magistrates, I'm going to open up the floor to public comment from anybody here who would like to address the ordinance. I'm going to ask if everybody who would like to speak would please stand and be sworn in. Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, please be seated, and I'll ask our first speaker to, I'll break this up in favor of anyone who would like to speak. Let's say anybody who would like to speak in favor of the ordinance could speak first.
My name is Barbara Eaton, and I live in Darby Point, 3901 Summerlin Drive in Buckner, Kentucky. I ask that you all, I respectfully request that you all pass this ordinance to protect, if anything, homeowners. My understanding is this Kentucky state says you have to have a 200-foot requirement from a structure or a vehicle. And my neighbor has been setting them off about, I would say approximately 125 feet from my house. I don't know if this will show up or not. You can see where the fireworks are being set off right there by the stop sign, and then this is my mailbox. Now, what happened last year was the spot appeared on my new roof. I had a new roof put on in 2013. I borrowed against my home to have the new roof installed. This is on a sunny day. This was August 20th of 2015. I took one the day before when it was rainy. And overcast. So this is a contract I did for my that I had for my roofer. So on September the 9th, seeing that these spots were still there, I contacted him I wrote him a letter, I sent these photos to him, and he looked at them and said, it looks like it's sulfur residue. So I told him if I would pay him to come out and give me that statement. Well, he came out towards the end of September. By then, it finally had just about completely disappeared. And he was going to repair my roof. So, you know, I have nothing against fireworks as long as it's done where it doesn't affect someone else's property. And I really request that you approve this ordinance because we definitely need it. Thank you.
I think this ordinance does limit fireworks from being discharged within 200 feet of property or a vehicle, as I recall. Correct? I believe that's the state guideline, whatever the state, 200 feet, right. All right, thank you, okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll close that part of the public comment and ask if there's anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to it. Please come forward. Well, one at a time, you could kind of,
name's Randall Barber. Live at 4014 Niagara Drive, LaGrange. Actually, just outside of LaGrange. But I've got a number of things. I'd like to speak against this for, the main thing is I'm always concerned whenever the local government wants to reduce freedoms that have been granted us by the state government. I question the statement by Mr. Likens earlier when he said this is a common sense limits. What defines common sense? Why is this needed? What was the initial reason for this? The previous speaker Ford, I can address that. I'll have to give you some transparency here. I'm a nationally certified licensed pyrotechnician, so I know a little bit about the product. I've worked with Zambelli, who does Thunder over Louisville, Pyrotechnico, and several others nationally and locally. The damage to a roof is most likely from anything else besides fireworks. There's not going to be any burning sulfur come down on a roof that can affect an asphalt shingle, not burning that long. Most likely the person walking on the roof looking for it can do that damage. I wrote a letter to every one of you and didn't get a response from anybody about this, so I was concerned about that.
I'm not sure I received a letter from you. Did you?
It's an email using the address on the website for all of you. So yeah, you responded? Okay. I guess I didn't get your response. I looked at it this afternoon. Okay, so my main question is the purpose. Is this about noise? Or is it about trying to limit people doing things they shouldn't do? For example, the example given here, the state law already prohibits what this person was doing. Set off fireworks in the street, setting it off within 100 feet or within 200 feet of the property. That's all. Your current ordinance is redundant then. So I don't see the need, common sense or otherwise, for ordinance that repeats what the state already says. In the definitions and things in this ordinance, it's cut and paste from the state ordinance 227702, except for the dates. Again, it's redundant. The only change seems to be allowing additional fees, which I'm not coming to speak about that. You know, you have the right to, the county has the right to add a fee, just like LaGrange added a fee. My question is about the dates of use. Limiting it 6 days of use, if your problem is noise, why are you targeting fireworks in particular? There are 361 other days in the year where noise happens after 10 o'clock. Wouldn't a noise ordinance be more wiser, more proper direction if the problem is noise? How many complaints? Has anybody actually compiled the numbers, calls to the police department for complaints for fireworks outside of the time when people would think that it's normal? Or do we have those numbers? Has any of you seen those numbers? I haven't. I was going to go by the county police and see if I could get those numbers, but I haven't been able to get by there to do it. I work out of town most of the time. Does this affect the dates when fireworks are going to be sold in the county? It's not clear. Because it's mentioned sales and use in the various parts of it. Because it wouldn't be fair for the fireworks vendors if you can only sell on the 2 days, around 4th of July. They have to set up and sell those 2 days. When is this supposed to go in effect? Is this something that you want to apply this season? Or is this something that you're talking about applying in 2017? I'd venture to say it's unfair to every person who uses fireworks for celebrations to be this season, especially since 4th of July falls on a Monday. There'll be many people who want to celebrate the Saturday before, because not everybody gets off on 4th. My wife does not get off on July 4th, or the Saturday after. And why are these particular date limits? Have you considered that, just like any other celebrations, people do things on other days for birthdays, birthday parties, graduation parties, ethnic celebrations, Chinese New Year's. Hispanics have, if you go to Mexico, you see fireworks are used constantly for various celebrations. Other ethnicities use them for different things. Baby gender, this is becoming an up-and-coming thing. Gender announcements with all blue fireworks or all pink fireworks. And those are done often in the day. They're daytime effects, they're smoke effects. They still make a bang because the bang is to send smoke up in the air or streamers in the air. Same thing with other aerial effects that occur during the day that wouldn't be occurring on the 4th of July birthday parties. There are other effects where you can buy a cake that has parachutes. I did a thing for a church VBS where I put 600 parachutes in the air that came down and kids went everywhere trying to catch them. This was a daytime effect, but it was definitely not on or near 4th of July. Now, like I said, I'm licensed certified as a pyrotechnician, so my shows wouldn't be affected as long as the local authority gives me permission and I get a state permit. So it wouldn't affect those things that I do, but it does affect other people who want to go to a fireworks store and buy a whole bunch of parachutes, army men attached, and shoot them up for their son's or grandson's birthday. Those were my main concerns.
Mr. Barber, let me answer a couple of your questions and then ask you a question. I think the purpose of the ordinance is to, number one, determine who's selling fireworks in Oldham County, to be able to track that, and then to encourage, limit fireworks usage to people older than 8 years old, not having younger people exploding fireworks, on their own. And then also to prevent let's say somebody wants to shoot it off 3 in the morning, anytime, day or night. That set aside, if the 6-day aspect of this ordinance were eliminated, would you be able to accept the rest of it.
That is my main concern, is the 6-day limit, is it really limits people's freedom for doing things. I wouldn't have a problem with a limit saying, other than a certain list of days, I think it needs to be expanded more than the 6. For example, Memorial Day, people are not going to celebrate things Memorial Day night because they got to go to work the next day. They'll have their celebrations the Saturday before. You know, some sort of things like that. On other days, if you want to have a quiet ordinance after 10 or 11, that's reasonable to me.
So your basic objection is the 6 days?
Yes.
All right. We have, I didn't really announce it at the beginning, but we allot about 20 minutes for each side to speak. So
Okay.
there were other speakers that wanted,
right.
but I appreciate the points you've made here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, magistrates, again, I'm Jim Allen from 1416 Oldham View. And I couldn't have come after a better speaker, thank you. He shared many of the same comments and concerns that I have, so I'm going to make this very brief. If I could show this on the overhead. Oh, very good, very quick. What I've tried to do is basically capture the concerns that I just heard, and, you know, with all due respect for the citizens who have had some difficulties, I really appreciate the problem you might have had, and the work that's been done at the last meeting. I noticed from the chief of police and from all the magistrates in the safety committee. I talked to Magistrate Leslie for a while about this, and others. I really appreciate the work that's been done on this. But my concern was, again, this section 4, paragraph B, which was what's just referred to by the previous speaker. And to answer your question, Judge, if this were removed, yes, I'd be okay. But I'd like to explain kind of the reasons why I suggested the amendment, which is the bottom half of this, and maybe it would help when you have your magistrate's discussion. Again, the first section is basically taking away the 6-day limit and just applying the hour limitation that you've established of 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time. The state law says 11 o'clock, but I did a quick check on the internet, and dusk around here, even during the solstice, is 9:10, so I didn't have any problem with 10 o'clock. Right. So I added this here. Now, there's a section that I added in this amendment which suggests that it puts in a December 31st to January 1st exception as well. But the reason I put that in was a carryover from the existing amendment that you guys have written that was presented at the last meeting. Quite frankly, I don't care if it's in there or not, but it carried it over because it was the only exception to the current way I wrote section B. What's nice about this is that by making it 365 days, then the burden on trying to be culturally sensitive to the comments we previously heard kind of goes away. The burden of restricting rights for people using fireworks kind of gets mitigated, and the difficulty of the judge trying to issue exceptions for 358 days or something kind of goes away too. You've allowed enough days and put enough restrictions on it that everybody ought to be able to have their celebration and not cause an entire another process for tracking and creating all these potential letters of exception that the judge would have to deal with. So that's kind of why I constructed B. On section B1, I did notice, I talked to Magistrate Leslie. He indicated that his girlfriend had a horse that was a bit skittish and that issues like that could cause livestock to behave poorly. I'm real sensitive to that. My sister had 6 Arabians. I know how skittish they can get. So I thought I'd put in a structure here for some distance from a farm or a paddock for livestock. I mean, this is not a sensitivity of mine, but it would try and address directly one of the reasons for having this ordinance in the first place. So I figured, why not just address it and not use it to limit more generic rights? And then the third one is because if I did this with farms and paddocks, then apparently the farmers themselves couldn't use fireworks. So I had to put kind of an exception in there that said for, agricultural reasons, they could be exempt from this section. Also, I got to believe there's commercial and safety applications for this, for consumer fireworks that we haven't considered yet. I know when I used to teach the Boy Scouts sailing, we used to send up aerial smoke bombs, and unfortunately they had explosions on the end of them. And we would do that to show them how the wind patterns vary across the lake, and then we would teach them how to use that information to sail. That would become illegal for all but 6 days a year under this ordinance. And so it's one of the reasons I'm kind of sensitive to it. I couldn't even go out on the Ohio River and launch a safety flare with a retort in it because that would be illegal. So I added this third item as a suggestion because I think there are some legitimate uses that shouldn't have to run to the judge for exceptions for people using consumer fireworks. So that is what I proposed.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the fiscal court?
Judge, magistrates, I'm Jack Shea. I live at 5301 Bexley Cove in Darby Point. I don't necessarily disagree with the ordinance. I agree with everything but the days that have been restricted. I also disagree with the previous speaker as far as 10 p.m. I think maybe 11 p.m. might be a better time. If you did away with the days, I would be for it. If you didn't do away with the days, I think like this weekend, this coming 4th of July weekend is a perfect example of you have it on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and you're telling people they can only do it the 3rd and the 4th. And I don't think that's going to happen, but those are my comments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jessica Armstead, 4014 Niagara Drive, LaGrange. I work with my father. I am a licensed pyrotechnician. I manage a local stand across from the hospital. So I do have a lot of insight in the buying patterns and with the conversations with people. So I can say honestly, having 6 days is not going to limit people. When it was illegal in Kentucky, it didn't limit people, and we all know that. My largest issue is that I always take point with legislation or ordinances that are created solely for the purpose of comfort. And this is created for the comfort of people who don't want to hear a boom, whether it's fireworks, whether it's somebody firing a gun to shoot a tannerite target, whatever it is, its basis is comfort. So we regulate for comfort at the expense of others. You know, do we regulate? My neighbor, or the neighbor of my aunt who lives over in Cherrywood, 3 huge dogs, tiny backyards, all they do, all day, all night. But as annoying as it is, she would never want to limit their right to have dogs just because they're so loud and annoying. And I don't think that it should come to a point where any laws, rules, ordinances that come before this group should be based on comfort. You're the lawmakers. It's not the Homeowners Association of Oldham County to make things comfortable for people because they find displeasure in something, you know. I don't like people who play really loud music. Yeah, our neighbors do it all night, blaring. And I think you just have to get used to that. I do think that it's annoying you have people who do fireworks really late at night. My dad loves those whistlers, and I detest them. So I understand not liking fireworks or not liking particular aspects of fireworks, but I don't feel that anyone has the innate right or should take advantage of a position to start legislating or making rules based on comfort alone. Everything involving safety, the state's already taken care of in terms of where they should be fired, how far away from places they should be fired, when can they be sold, where should they be sold, to what ages of people should they be sold to, who should be buying them, how old you have to be to sell them, how old you need to be to like them. So really, this really boils down to comfort. An ordinance to create comfort for some at the expense of people, even if those people are just really bad neighbors. It's still at their expense, and they're still locals, and they're still part of this community. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So anyone else who would like to address this ordinance?
My name is Bill Carney, and I live at 3708 Valley Creek Drive in Pendleton. Have to forgive me, I'm a little hard of hearing. I may repeat a couple items that the other folks say, but excuse me, the date as far as the vendors go, I don't know whether you guys, I know you're addressing several issues: noise, safety, specific days to sell the fireworks. Okay. As far as specific dates go, in effect, the state has already issued permits to the vendors. The state permits start June 10th to July 7th. Okay? Those fireworks for the vendors are already ordered, and 95% of them are in the vendor's possession. So if you limit sales in Odom County, it's kind of like, at this late a date, it's like, oh, the prom is going to be this weekend, but guess what? We're going to change the dress code before the prom gets here. If you're going to do something like this, you need to do it for next year's events. Okay? Just kind of keep that in mind. Okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to address the ordinance? Okay, seeing no one, I'm going to close the public comment and go to the magistrates here and see if we have any conversation about this. Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. First off, I was not the author of this ordinance, so I'm filling in for Magistrate Leslie. But I think we need to rethink the dates. And these dates are for usage, not for sale of fireworks. These are the dates of fireworks being shot at residential locations. So we're not restricting the days that fireworks can be sold. So I would like to make a motion that we remove the use dates from this ordinance, because talking with council, it's not a substantive change in the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the 6 dates listed in here as restrictive or the only dates be deleted, and that that would allow fireworks to be shot off any day in Oldham County. Okay, Magistrate Logston.
Thank you, Judge. Chief, I hate to put you on the spot here, but I'm going to ask you if you come forward, because I have some questions. Because you put these dates in here for a reason, and I want to know what your thought process was to do that before we just strike them. Sorry to put you on the spot, but.
You know, the last time I was here, we talked about this, and honestly, it was for nuisance control, safety, and controlling the regulation of what was being sold in the county. It was kind of the idea behind this ordinance. The dates, we looked at those that were the most popular, the most of the runs that came in on those dates. And we thought maybe those are the ones that we had the most problems with, and so should we try to control some of this stuff? And it was just the dates that everyone thought in the committee was the best to allow, but not necessarily allow everything year-round. So that's why we had just those dates. We thought those were the most popular times when the fireworks were used and exploded. So we thought we would allow those, but limit it the rest of the year. And that was the process, that was the thought process at the time. Now, I do agree, if you remove the dates, you need to make sure you have a time limitation. But if we remove under section 4, subsection B and C, if we remove those, we're also removing the times. So we probably need to, if the fiscal court is so inclined as to vote that way, you probably also need to vote a time period, allowable time period. But anyway, did I answer your question, Manager Foxton?
So, Judge?
Magistrate Eldridge?
What about using the language from Mr. Allen?
I'm willing to delete the dates. I'm not willing to make any other changes in the ordinance today. I think we want to go forward today and have this ordinance in place now. So if there are other issues to be resolved, I think we need to resolve them later. But certainly understand the date restriction or being a problem, and it's not removing the dates is not a substantial change because we don't have any restrictions on those dates now. So we're already at that position today. If we start getting into other things about it, though, I think we're getting out into an area that I don't think we should go
Well,
to.
sir, my only point I'm making is if you remove the dates, you need to include a time limitation if the court so desires. Because if you remove these dates, there are no time limitations for fireworks usage in this ordinance.
Okay, that's fine.
We just have to put a time limit in there, that's all.
Well,
I'm saying.
I'm not willing to do that today.
Okay, sure.
Judge,
Measure Sparks.
what I think that he's trying to say, and I would agree, is right here it says, exploded between the listed dates and times. Let's just strike out dates and leave times, and then these dates here have times associated with them. Instead, just put 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Or whatever it is, 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah, I think the gentleman had suggested 10 to 10 or 10 to 11.
Mr. Allen had
So-
some very good language for that.
Right.
So we don't have to change any of the language, just strike out those two words and insert in those 6 days and just leave the time period here,
All right, what about when the time period is till 2 a.m.?
A little bit too late.
Well, you're talking about like on New Year's Day? Well, let's leave
December
the,
31st, and
yeah.
it's got till 2 a.m. on January 1st.
How about, what if we strike out those 2, 3, 4, 5, lines 2 through 6, leaving the New Year's one there, and then on the other say, and any other dates between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Or we're looking for allowable, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
I think what this section provision C here says, notwithstanding any provision to the contrary, regardless of the day of the week which 4th of July falls, persons may explode fireworks on any date specifically named or designated by the fiscal court between the hours of 10 a.m. and midnight, correct? That's the 4th of July. Could go to midnight. So,
May I make a suggestion?
what's that?
On subsection G, in the same one you're on,
Uh-huh.
it says consumer fireworks defined in 227-7021, not restricted by date but prohibited after 11 a.m.
11 p.m.
11 p.m., I'm sorry, thank you. Why don't we just say consumer fireworks is defined in this ordinance are prohibited after 11 p.m.? That covers all of them. Takes it to
Other
11
than
p.m.
the 4th of July, which goes to midnight.
Right, the 4th of July would be different,
And New Year's.
and New Year's.
Are you
So,
going to leave New Year's in also, Judge?
well, we don't have, if we eliminate the 6 days, we don't have another provision in here that addresses the time on New Year's,
No, just
other than midnight.
You could add-
delete-
You could add it under G, except
Leave-
for New Year's and 4th of July.
leave line 1,
Okay.
which is New Year's, and strike out the other 5 lines.
No, I'm getting,
Leave that one and strike these out.
that limits the ordinance to just that day only.
And this,
No.
this says any other day after 11 p.m. And this covers 4th of July.
No, if,
Judge, if I could say it's okay. If we're gonna start rewriting this in any, with the days and et cetera, I think we need to send it back to committee for review that, rather than us leaning over just pointing to different lines and et cetera. And
Well,
not giving
that's
it thought.
exactly why I said the only thing I'd like to do today is eliminate the days. I'm not going to worry about the time or any other issues on this, just eliminate the days and go forward with this ordinance. We can come back next month or the following month and and clean it up at that point if we need to.
This suggested change right here, Judge, will do exactly what you
I
want.
have the floor for just a second, please. If we tabled this and then came back next month without doing it, then what difference would that make? If it makes,
The no permits will be, the permits and the signage will be affected.
for what? The 4th of July, is that what you're thinking right there?
That's right.
All right. I would like to ask and I'm okay with my question now. Now, can I ask Chief
Sure.
something? Okay. In Jefferson County, and I know you were there for a while, do you remember about what their ordinance was at all?
No, I really don't. That's a foreign land altogether anyway, I don't know.
And I didn't know. And
No, I
that's-
don't know. Honestly, I don't remember, Mr. Tyson.
And the reason I ask that question, as we start to become a county that's where we're becoming more dense and we're living next to each other, that a lot of times we have to impose rules that affect our neighbors because our next door neighbors don't think of themselves. What happens on her roof, I don't know of anybody who sets fireworks and points it at their house. Their statement is, well, it won't hurt her house. But obviously, in the other point, how many of them have really pointed at their house? So I look at that and I'm thinking, we've got to do something that as we're getting more dense, that we protect those people that are affected. And I'm going to stop with that statement right there.
Well, the ordinance and state law say that fireworks cannot be set off closer than 200 feet from structure. So I'm sympathetic here with Ms. Eaton's issue in her neighborhood, and I think we've talked about it, and I feel that the party that occurs there on 4th of July is at this point extremely sensitive to the issue and does not want to do anything that would, upset Ms. Eaton or anyone else in the neighborhood, and would be within 200 feet. We've come this far with this. Magistrate Leslie isn't here today, but what we're trying to do is, number one, we're trying to find out who's selling in our county. And you just can't plop down a stand anywhere at any time and start selling something. We want to control who's selling in the county. We want to know that they understand that they're not going to sell to anybody under 18 years of age. We don't want any. We've had, one of our members of the police department referred a comment to me today about someone questioning why someone under 8 years old couldn't set off fireworks. Well, it's just poor judgment. So we're trying to get a handle around this circumstance. I understand the restrictions on the days are such that probably no one's shooting off fireworks yesterday or today or tomorrow. There may be some random circumstance in the county. We're not aware of it. So eliminating the days is not a problem. But we won't have this ordinance in place with the provisions that we'd like to have guide the sales of this product for this 4th of July if we don't do it today. If we get fooling around with it too much, make too many changes, then we're into material changes, and those material changes will cause us to have to back up all the way. So that's why I'm saying eliminating the days is not a material change. We'll just basically go forward on the same basis we have been operating on here in prior years, with the exception that people selling this will have to come in and let us know who you are, where you are. You will set up in areas that are zoned properly for it, and you agree not to be selling to people under 18 years of age. We'll have some support structure established. We still have a time issue to take care of, but we can take care of it next month and not be or the following month. But if we don't do it today, then we're looking at a year. So I don't think we need to wait a year.
A couple questions. If somebody sets off tannerite on their property, is that a firework?
It's not illegal.
Well, I mean, if we put this in place.
Not according to this ordinance, no.
All right, so, and firearms wouldn't be included in this at all? Would noise, we don't have a noise ordinance. I know I've got some people calling me about noise ordinances all of a sudden. They want to talk about those. Can the fireworks that are set off throughout the year that are in the evening at ridiculous hours, 12 o'clock, can that be enforced with other regulations like disturbing the peace?
Oh, I'd have to take a look at that and see if we could. I mean, I don't know, just off the collar. Mr. Carter needs to, Mr. Carter left, but
Yeah.
I guess if it was bad enough, we could go there and do something, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, ordinarily, if it gets to the point where it's really truly disturbing the peace, we can tell them to stop. We had an incident over the weekend with that tannerite being set off. Responding officer says late, stop it, and they did.
Yeah, that's what somebody was emailing me about earlier. They said they set off 10 pounds of it, which is quite a bit. Judge, I'm not suggesting to make any drastic changes. I'm just listening to what you said and what everybody else said. And what I'm trying to say to you is if we strike the last 5 days of your list and leave the first one, that covers New Year's, covers the 4th of July, which is the C. And then, as I think Squire Eldridge, the chief said, G covers prohibition of setting them off after 11 p.m. So all we've done is, you said eliminate the dates. We're eliminating all of them but the 4th of July and New Year's, and we're protecting these people that don't want them set off at midnight. Don't you agree?
Would you read section 4, the very first sentence?
Fireworks and consumer fireworks shall not be used, ignited, fired, or exploded in Oldham County except as follows.
So you'd like to eliminate 5 days, but you want to leave December 1st. So with that sentence there, all you're doing is reducing the days from 6 down to 1.
So I understand what you're saying. So you're saying we need to put some language in there that says it's allowable on every day except for. I mean, you want some language in there that says it's allowable on every day.
I think if we eliminate the days when you can't do it, that only leaves the days you can, and that's every day.
And you think that if we add a sentence there or rewrite that sentence, that'll be a significant change?
I don't know. I don't want to venture that far out on a limb to find out. Magistrate Dye.
I'm on the Public Safety Committee, and we did work on this, and the chief was did a lot of work on this. And I will have to admit that until some of the people came up, especially the gentleman I didn't catch your last name, sir, I apologize. He brought up a lot of points, and I think the chief has hit on it, that we did not envision all these other things that people do with fireworks. I mean, I didn't know all these things, so, you don't know what you don't know. So, with all of that being said, and I'd like to just submit this to the court, I've just done a little writing here, and if you'll go to the page 2, go to section 4, item B, and start with the word ground, okay? If you put in there, ground devices, and this is kind of rough, but ground devices may be used, ignited, fired, or exploded any time until 10 p.m. and to the hours for the dates listed below. So in other words, you can fire fireworks any time till 10 p.m. and then use these dates that have the time restraint. You leave the days in there, you still got your time restraints. You get into ignite them anytime up till 10 p.m. Now, the people that spoke against it, is that acceptable to you folks? Is that, yes, no, raise your hand?
If you want, our opinion, it's not acceptable for you to do anything this year.
I didn't say anything about, I'm talking about the motion on the floor right now. Does that make, did I write this down? Did it make any sense to you, Judge?
You'll have to come up here.
Not exactly. Let me propose we had a motion on the floor here. We're leaving Robert's rules here. I'm going to like to amend the motion on the floor and say, how about if we just say fireworks and, let's take section 4, fireworks and consumer fireworks shall be allowed to be fired, exploded in Oldham County. And just take the word "not" out of that sentence. Shall be allowed to be used, fired, or exploded in Oldham County, period. And then take the word "except" as follows out. Then I think we can leave those dates in there and in those times. Where other times, I guess you'd have up to 11 o'clock.
Can you put, so underneath there, you might put something like, and any other day before 10 p.m.? All right.
I don't think we have a problem with material changes when we delete things. It's when we add things is where we're getting into the deeper water.
Judge, I need to withdraw my motion to amend then.
Did you withdraw your motion?
Yeah. So if
Second.
I withdraw that, then you can.
I'll
make a
withdraw my
motion to
second,
amend.
yeah.
Okay.
Motion is just to remove the dates.
All right. I'll make a motion that we accept this. Fireworks and consumer fireworks may be used, ignited, fired, or exploded in Oldham County, period. Take the next 3 words out, except as follows. Get rid of that. Then when we get down to section B here, it says aerial and audible ground bases may only be used ignored between the times listed. Listed on the following dates.
May I interrupt a moment,
Yes.
Judge? I was asked, this is a second and final, this is a public hearing, and I don't think we can rewrite an ordinance at the public hearing. I was asked if I thought it would be a material change just to delete subsection 4B, and I don't think it will be, but when you start rewriting the ordinance, I'm positive you can't do that at a final hearing.
All right.
But that's just my advice.
I understand. All right, I'll withdraw what I just said. We're still, the public hearing is over because there were no more testifiers, so that we're on the magistrates are discussing it at this point. Magistrate Likens, would you like to restate your your motion, please?
My motion was to accept the ordinance 16820-207.
With these dates eliminated?
No, and then we made it a motion to amend after that.
Pardon? All right, yeah, right. And are you willing to restate your amendment to the motion?
I withdrew it. It's already been withdrawn.
I'm asking you if you're willing to restate it. You've heard what the county attorney said.
Yes, I would just like to amend my original motion by saying that we take all reference to dates off of
These 6 dates.
the 6 dates off,
Section 4B.
section 4B.
For a second to that? Eliminate section 4B.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Any? Magistrate Eldridge?
Judge, I realize what you're trying to do, but I think we've convoluted ourselves here enough that, really, to go with Magistrate Tice, that this really needs to be tabled until we can look at it better. I want to go along with advice of counsel, of course, and I also don't want to go against our chief of police who thinks that there needs to be hours in there stated. I think even among those that were against the ordinance, they all realized that hours were an important part.
I think we have hours in the balance of the ordinance. Says you, do we or do we not? It says under item G, consumer fireworks are restricted, not restricted by date, but are prohibited after 11 o'clock. So that's,
So there are no dates.
so by the elimination of item G, we do have hours here. So, Mr. Eldridge?
I'm going to make a motion to table, Judge.
Pardon?
Motion to table.
Second.
All right, motion,
There's a motion on the floor.
Yeah, but
there's already another motion on the floor.
if you motion to table, I think that,
It
that
takes precedence.
takes precedence.
Motion to table takes precedence over all other motions.
Motion to table means that if enough people vote yes, then we'll stop discussing this right now. Okay? So, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Dye?
No.
Magistrate Logsdon? Yes. Magistrate Tice?
Yes.
Magistrate Likens?
No.
Magistrate Greenwell?
Yes.
Magistrate Sparks?
No.
Magistrate Eldridge?
Yes.
Judge Vogel?
No.
It's tied.
All right, tie vote, motion fails. We're back to the Magistrate Likens motion to amend the ordinance and proceed with the elimination of the 6-day, the section with the 6 days in it. So, yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Mr. Carter a question. Mr. Carter, are we on solid ground just by doing that is not a substantive change? By eliminating basically section 4B?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Procedurally, I'm not saying it's a good thing to do. I'm just saying, yes.
Fine.
Thank you again.
I have another question.
Magistrate Sparks.
Mr. Carter, how is just changing a few words in the sentence to make it sound proper a substantive change of the whole thing? We're not adding paragraphs or sentences. We're just, the past tense, forward tense, present tense of the sentence.
Well, that's the reason for the rule that you can't make a substantive change in an ordinance once it's presented to fiscal court without setting another date for a hearing. You can't rewrite an ordinance in a public forum. So I think you can delete that one section without creating a problem because it doesn't change anything. The ordinance just does not apply to those particular dates anymore. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't restrict anything. But when you start changing wording, trying to change wording on a final ordinance at a final hearing, then that creates a problem.
Okay, thank you. I think we've gotten off in the weeds here on a lot of different avenues of this discussion. The fact of the matter is we have a good ordinance here put together to provide some structure to the sale of this product in our community rather than a willy-nilly approach to who's doing what where. We'd like to know who the vendors are. We'd like to know the vendors are not selling to people under 18 years old, that they're selling at appropriate locations, and that their fireworks, there is a time of day when the community deserves peace. And we understand that. Most of us play by those rules. There are some people who won't. And at that point, we have to be able to tell them that we have set this as a curfew time for setting off these fireworks and enjoying that activity. So we're not trying to prohibit people from enjoying the activity. We're not trying to restrict the sales. We are trying to do so in a way that's constructive for the community. I might add that I could be wrong about this, but it's my impression that Lexington has prohibited any sales there or any fireworks. There are communities that just say no, period. And we're not joining those communities, but we're trying to have some degree of organization to it, more than we have now and as much as the city of LaGrange has. So we're not out in outer space here doing something that no one else is doing. So I believe we should pass this, and if there are changes to be made later, they can be made later, easy enough. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote now. I think we've discussed this long enough. Would you please take a roll call?
And this is on the original vote
That's on-
to accept it or not?
Pardon?
There's no anything else?
We're accepting this ordinance with the deletion of the section with the 6 days. So the ordinance would passes, fireworks could be exploded on the same basis they are right now in the county, and that's every day.
Have we already taken a vote to delete those 6 exceptions?
I think that was in his Likens' motion.
That was in his motion. He made a motion that was second to pass the ordinance, approve the ordinance with the amendment.
With no times, Judge?
Your original motion is to accept the ordinance.
The time is 11 p.m. That's already in the ordinance, Section G.
Exception.
Section 4, item G.
4, small b.
Accept the motion, except for, okay. Thank you. I think I understand. I got to make sure I know what I'm voting on, Judge.
Right.
Sorry.
You're voting on this ordinance with the elimination of those 6 days. We're doing away with that section so that fireworks, there are no days when they are restricted from being set off. That's the motion.
Judge, just one question. I understand we're going to delete B in its entirety. Should not we delete C also? Because you have the 4th of July, and it's sort of convoluted, it's been pointed out this year. So should we amend that motion to eliminate section C also? 4C? If you're going to revert back to igniting fireworks as they are today, as the rules are set in motion today.
No, I don't see why we would need to eliminate 4C. It specifically addresses the 4th of July and allows a longer time period on the 4th of July.
Okay, just a question. Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor.
Every other day is 11 o'clock, 4th of July is midnight.
That, Judge, is why I wanted to keep the December 31st one in there, because it had a special date till midnight.
Well, we
Point of order.
just can't handle it.
There's a motion
Okay.
on the floor.
Let's go ahead and take the vote.
Magistrate Tice,
No.
Magistrate Likens,
Yes.
Magistrate Greenwell,
No.
Magistrate Eldridge,
No.
Magistrate Dye,
Yes.
Magistrate Logsdon,
Yes.
Magistrate Sparks,
What's the vote right now? No, what's the number? How many yeses and how many nos?
I think 3, what do we get?
That's what you think.
What do you got, 3-3? 3-3 here.
I'll vote for the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Judge Vogel,
Yes. Ordinance passes 5-3. Thank you. So moved. Okay, we'll clean up anything else later. Thank you.
Judge, I'd like to express a special thanks to Magistrate Leslie for handing that off to me today.
We don't know where he is, but thank you so much. Okay. All right, next item here is a public, we're just going to jump from one to the next here. Second reading on our public golf cart ordinance. So,
Judge, I'd like to make a motion.
so those of you who are here today to support the sale of fireworks, I hope you understood what happened. They can be sold any day, 4th of July, they can be sold up till midnight. So you'll have to register with planning and zoning to get your permit and your sign permit and your license permit. So that's, the way it is. And I think several people were salesmen here that didn't actually say they were salesmen, did they? I don't know. So, but you can shoot them off, and there are no restrictions on dates at this point. Mr. Greenwell?
But it did prohibit anybody from shooting them off at midnight on December 31st.
Well, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of time between now and then to amend this ordinance. We did, we got 6 months to make any changes in the time. So if we want to do that, we certainly can. Okay, now we have second reading of golf cart ordinance. This will be a public hearing. Anybody who would like to speak to this will be able to do so. I'll call on Magistrate Dye to introduce this.
Yes, Judge, this is an ordinance that, regarding the addition of the streets. If you'll go to the back page of in your binder, it's the streets in red. These streets, the first section is the streets that were inadvertently left off. The original listing for these streets are in the city of Orchard Grass. I've spoke to the mayor at Orchard Grass. He told the council, they said, wouldn't make a lot of sense to have these streets not in the ordinance and the rest of the city in the ordinance. I said, makes perfect sense to me. The second section is Turner Ridge Road. This is in the subdivision of Bar Hill Estates. I talked to the HOA president over there. Again, the thinking was the same. Why would you have one road in the center of the subdivision that was not in the ordinance? So again, I'm requested this put in. And then the rest of the roads, the subdivisions of Glen Oaks, Moser Farms, the Reserve of Sleepy Hollow, and the Woods of Glen Oaks. All four of these subdivisions are all contiguous in nature. They're all bounded by the private property on two sides, the interstate on one side and the Highway 1694 on the other. The Glen Oaks Golf and Tennis Club works its way through this community. So, of course, golf carts and a golf course community would make only common sense. So I'm asking, I'm making a motion that we approve this, but we have to go through the public hearing first.
I'll second it.
All right, moved and seconded that the Oldham County amendment repealing and replacing the ordinance number 15-520-71 relating to permitting the operation of golf carts on county roads. So we've read this through several times. We're just adding more streets to those that can have a golf cart operated on them. The golf cart has to be inspected by the sheriff. It has to have certain vehicular accoutrements that signage, seat belts, lighting that is appropriate. Just having an old golf cart that you bought secondhand doesn't mean you can go out on the road with it and start running it around. It has to be an appropriately equipped golf cart. So at this point, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody who would like to speak in favor of this amendment or in opposition to it. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and go on to the magistrates here and ask if there is any discussion about adding the different streets to the ordinance. Magistrate Logston.
Okay, Judge. I think this whole ordinance got started because UPS wanted to deliver packages back at Christmas time. Is that correct? Is when we started this whole thing? Well, and then I understand people living in golf cart communities want to drive their golf carts through their, but you know what, if we're going to limit this, what about Kentucky Acres? I mean, I was in Kentucky Acres the other day and somebody's riding their golf cart. So why is it unfair that we can, if we name all of them, they can do it, but the rest of the county roads they can't do it on? That's just a question.
As you die.
My understanding of the state statute and what we've done here is, and I've had this discussion with Deputy Judge Black, I don't know why any subdivision road in the county shouldn't be on this list. I mean, it's justice for one, justice for all. But my point of bringing this forward was because of the fact that all of these roads I listed today are in my district, and like I said, part of it was a corrective measure, but the other one is those 4 subdivisions are in a golf course community. If people in Kentucky Acres want to have a golf course that a golf cart on the street that the sheriff suspected, then they need to get on this list. And that applies to any road. Now there are, but you have to remember, the neighborhood has to be contiguous in nature. In other words, you can't, I think me and Judge Black were talking about if you lived in, the name of this, what's, Mr. Like, what's the name of the city there across from Countryside on 42?
Hillcrest?
River Bluff.
River Bluff. If you were down at one entrance on River Bluff and you had, your street was on the list, and then Countryside streets were on the list, could you cross 42 at the light? I'm not exactly sure if you can, but I'm certainly sure that you can't go out of River Bluff at the second entrance and drive up 42. So in other words, it doesn't give you carte blanche just to drive around like a car, but it's meant for a subdivision situation. So, does that answer your question?
No.
Well, did the best I could.
Thank you, though.
Judge?
Yes, sir. Magistrate Greenwell.
The original intent of this ordinance was so that UPS could deliver packages, which isn't part of the original state statute. The state statute indicates that you can drive a golf cart if it has been inspected, has the proper equipment on it, and stays within an area that is not, it has, in other words, you cannot cross a road that's got a speed limit more than 35 miles an hour. So if you've got your brother-in-law that lives across the street and he's got a golf cart and you've got one and you all want to visit back and forth, you can do that, but if that road in between you is more than 35 miles an hour, you cannot. So that's what the state statute was all about originally. It wasn't about delivering packages, and that's why we passed the ordinance to begin with. There already is one on the books to allow you to drive one if it meets all the parameters of the state statute.
Magistrate Sparks.
Couple questions. One, well, if what you're saying is correct, then we don't even need this. These people can currently ride on the streets, so
But they
this
can't deliver
redundant.
packages.
Okay. My second question is, while they go through an inspection process with the sheriff, I believe that they should have some kind of a vehicle ID on them so that you can report reckless drivers, just like you do when people have a license plate. I'm just saying.
It's not in the state statute.
All right. I'm talking. So that would be my suggestion for a change in it if it were possible, but I'm sure it's completely difficult, and so that's all I had to ask.
All right. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to the conversation?
If I could
Magistrate Tice.
If I could ask Magistrate Dye, the only thing this does is list the streets that are in your district. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, they happen to be in my district, because the people came to me and said, I believe the judge got some emails from some people that contacted me, they want to get on the list. So this is, I'm acting upon their request.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. As far as the amendment and these additional streets to be added to the Oldham County golf cart ordinance, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. Motion passes 8-7 to 1. The next item on today's agenda has to do with a resolution regarding fireworks regulatory fee, and that'd be Magistrate Likens.
Yes, Judge, this is a resolution to set a fee of $1,000 per site for relating to the sale of fireworks in Oldham County. I'd like to make that motion that we accept resolution number 010607-16.
Second.
Moved and seconded that Oldham County Fiscal Court sets a license fee for the sale of fireworks as follows. The fee is to be $1,000 per site payable to Oldham County Fiscal Court. Both of the check and a completed application is to be submitted to the Oldham County Police Department. Discussion. Magistrate Sparks.
Yeah, Judge, is there any fee for similar in the city of LaGrange or other surrounding areas? Is this similar fee?
Does anybody know that?
Yes, so, all right, I'm going to take the fireworks experts' advice down there, and they're indicating that it is similar.
Same. All right.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion passes 7 to 1. Next item on the agenda, the URS contract agreement for Spring Hill Sidewalk Project. Belinda Demas.
This is an agreement with URS for preliminary design work in the amount of $39,571 for the Spring Hill Trace Sidewalk Project in Crestwood. The work will be paid for with federal funds that Fiscal Court approved in April. This is a Crestwood project, and the city will pay the required match. I'm asking Fiscal Court to give Judge Vogel permission to sign the agreement so that work can begin.
Second.
Moved and seconded, I'd be allowed to sign the URS contract for this sidewalk work in Crestwood, all paid for by outside sources.
Federal funds and
Federal funds will pay for
then
this.
Crestwood will pay the match.
Any discussion?
Discussion.
Magistrate Likens,
So
Logston.
So this is a matching fund, so we're going to have to come up with the rest of the money.
No.
Matching with the, whatever.
No, Crestwood's paying the matching funds.
So this is pass-through money then?
It's pass-through, yes. It's a reimbursement project but Crestwood will reimburse us for the match.
Okay, I just want to make sure there was pass-through.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Belinda.
Now we have a resolution for a Homeland Security grant application. Becky Zockling.
Thank you, Judge. I'm asking for the court's consent to submit an application on behalf of the Oldham County Hazmat Response Team. They are in need of oxygen cylinders, which the ones they currently have are out of date. And we came before the court about a month ago with Kevin Parker and discussed this, but this was prior to the release of these funds or the announcements of the availability of these funds. So now that the funds are available, we're asking for your consent to proceed with the application and allow the judge to sign the resolution and all, and the application form.
Judge, I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
It moved and seconded. I be allowed to sign this grant application to Homeland Security to help the South Oldham Fire Department with equipment there. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. All right, the next one is the Flood Mitigation Assistance Grant. Becky?
This is, we had the discussion at last fiscal court agreeing that the court would move ahead with this application. This is the next step on this application, where I'm asking you to give the judge permission to sign the resolution for this and submit the application.
Judge, I'd like to make that motion that we accept resolution number 020607-16.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded that I be allowed to sign this application to the Flood Mitigation Assistance Program, which would help people who have experienced severe flooding loss, and as an opportunity to reduce risk to that property and also reduce the expense of flood insurance for everyone in Oldham County.
Right.
By getting some of these properties cleared up. It should help everyone's flood insurance premium go down.
And it's at no cost to the county. It's a reimbursable grant. And any portion of the project that does have a match is paid for by the homeowner.
All right, discussion, Magistrate Sparks?
Yeah, I remember in your meeting, didn't you say something about once these properties are bought back, they can't be resold, correct?
Only the properties where the owner has chosen the mitigation action of acquisition and demolition.
Okay, so that property will permanently become whose? The
Ours.
county's?
The county's.
Is there any other discussion on this grant?
We currently have 6 of these houses being raised on Riverside Drive, and everyone is elated with the program.
Right, we actually have quite a few people who are standing in line who'd like to get into it if they could. But we can only handle so many per year.
What can
Raised
we
up.
use that property for in the future? Can we use it for parkland if there's enough contiguous space?
Contiguous space, yes, it might be. It's basically eliminating high-risk properties. If we get the property down there, it might flood. It's going to continue to flood down there some, but they're trying to raise these houses above flood level. If we own ground down there, the county owns it, be flooded over. I won't say that I can think of a use right off the bat. Might be able to make it into some sort of park or accessible area, depending on how the entire program works out over a period of years.
And once it's cleared, I mean, we're not going to have a lot of upkeep on it because it's just going to be plain
No, we're
land.
actually attempting to get the neighbors on either side of a property to be the ones who will keep it mowed.
Right.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on that? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. The next item here, oops, sorry.
Judge, when we were looking at the agenda earlier, I asked to add a line item there.
Yes.
Mrs. Auckland could speak to it better than I can, but this is quite a lengthy process to apply for this grant. The homeowners have got to get appraisers in. There's all sorts of facts and figures they've got to put together. One of the things that we've talked about is if we would go ahead and say that we're going to do this grant in 17, that would allow people a lot more time to get ready. You'll know this time when we came forward just 2 weeks ago, we were looking at a June 15th deadline, so it's a big hustle. So I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and say that we will support this grant application in next year's cycle so that they can go ahead and be working on their applications.
Second that.
Oh, but we did approve this year's cycle.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, all right. That, I agree with that. Are we sure there's going to be a cycle next year?
Well, if
We're-
I guess if there's not,
isn't,
we won't, but if
Right.
there is, we will.
And also because the funds are, the program's entirely funded by NFIP insurance premiums, it's highly likely that it will continue, and it is I'm told by FEMA officials that it is in the government's best interest to continue the program, just reducing the cost to disaster mitigation.
This is, right, pay now or pay later. I think that phrase came up earlier here today. All right, so are you going to make a motion to that effect?
I believe Mr. Lykin seconded it.
All right, second, all right. Any further discussion? This is a motion that we begin accepting applications or letting people know that we'll have that we're going to follow through on the program next year. Now, the question, I guess, would be, how are those applicants going to be determined?
Well, eligibility for the program is, number one, being insured under NFIP, so carrying having an active flood insurance policy. And two, having had experienced that property has experienced a loss of any kind and has filed a claim with NFIP.
All right, so, did you have a question, Magistrate?
Yeah, Judge. I thought the motion was, wouldn't the motion just be to authorize her to apply for the grants next year, or the grant process? Is that what your motion was? So it's not really, you're taking applications from people and submitting, it's just you're going to file with the federal organization that manages this, right?
Kind of.
Was that I heard the motion to say, to let people know that we were going to attempt to participate in that program next year.
17, so they
Right.
can go ahead and be working on their applications.
Right, and when people work on applications, that is part of the structure of getting the thing ready to go, but there is going to come a point where we can't submit 15 applications. So how are we going to determine who's what at that point? I don't think.
I don't.
I might have to have a lottery.
May have to have a lottery. Ms. Zoklin and Mr. Urban certainly are working close. That's one of the good things about this area. It's two homeowners associations that get along, very, very active people, about 100 houses down through there, and they all know each other. So I think we'll have a spirit of collegiality, if you will, that they'll work together.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Now we're on to the Weiss Tire grant agreement.
Okay, Judge, this is a standard application. We apply for this every year. It's a $4,000 grant that the state makes available to local governments for removal of waste tires. And this reflects back to the Health Department's presentation about mosquito reduction. And so it's particularly important at this time. And I've discovered that historically, we have sent money back and have not used this money in years past, and I'm working very hard to try to make sure that we spend as much of it as we can this year. But I'd like to apply for the full amount for next year and use it to the last dollar, frankly.
I'd make that motion, Judge.
Moved and seconded, we apply for the state solid waste recycling waste tire grant in the amount of $4,000. Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. Becky, I applaud you trying to get this every year, and we always have a certain amount of tires, but it's no sin to send the money back if you can't collect the tires.
Well,
I mean, there's, sooner or later, this program's going to wear itself out, and you can't go out and hit people in the head with a hammer and make them bring their tires in, you know. So all you can do is, that's it. So and I wanted to ask a question. Isn't there a tire acceptance program going on right now for ag tires? Am I right?
Yeah, well, that's my effort to try to bring in tires, and I'm.
Yeah, but I thought there was one already.
There is a rotating waste tire event.
Okay.
And that occurs in our county once every 3 years.
Okay. All
So,
right.
but it rotates around the state.
Not to be confused with this one here.
Correct.
All right.
Just a small point, doesn't make any difference, but I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, Magistrate Eldridge, is the money in this program comes every time somebody changes their tires, they have to pay a fee. So this is really, comes from the fee payers rather than the taxpayers in regard to where this money comes from.
That's correct.
So, okay, great. Thank you. All right, okay, sorry, Magistrate Eldridge.
Thank you, Judge. Just one other item to point out. Having been in the tire business, I can tell you that the state has a big push to get rid of old tires, and I believe we heard Ms. Gamsey speak of it earlier as well. They are a breeding ground for mosquitoes. They will collect water, and they are natural habitat. Thank you.
Magistrate Dye.
Becky, is these tires, what's the limitation on the kind of tires that, in other words, somebody can bring the tires here, they say got 2 of them in the garage and they don't want to put them out or whatever. They can bring them up to the recycling center and walk me through it.
Okay. The program is for, just as you said, people with spare tires in their garage. They take down their old tire swing or what have you. Also, tractor tires, cart or wagon tires, not tires that are with dealers, not tires that have been, that somebody has collected a fee for from a consumer.
Construction tires, like off a backhoe or something like that?
If it's residential, if it's
No,
privately owned,
So it can't come from a company either?
yeah, it has to
Okay.
be privately owned.
Okay.
Yes. And they bring the tires to the old salt dome, which is beside the old road department, now the maintenance building, behind the recycling center, off of Jones Drive. And that gate is open between 8 and 3:30, Monday through Friday.
Is that on or off the rim? You can't have a metal rim on it.
Either way, it can have the rim on it.
It's not like Big O then.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, the commercial.
Any further discussion? All right, to allow me to sign this grant application, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. The next item now, we're going to discuss with Kevin Nuss, the grant award for the power phone at dispatch.
Good afternoon, thank you. If y'all recall, the court accepted the 2015 CMRS grant award at the May 17th meeting in the amount of $60,678 for the implementation of an integrated protocol software system. Part of the conditions of that grant was that we had to pre-bid the software. So on September 11th of 2015, the court received a bid from PowerPhone. That was the only company we put a bid request out or RFP out. PowerPhone was the only company that submitted a proposal. At that time, the court received it, but you all never took any action on it pending whether we got the grant or not. Now that we have the grant, the RFP needs to be accepted by the court, and so I'm asking that the court accept that RFP and approve the quote and payment schedule as outlined on quote number 10479 dated May 18, 2016, in the amount of $53,178. I'm also asking that you allow the judge to sign the software agreement license with PowerPhone, and lastly, allow the judge to sign the PowerPhone EMD total response integration from our CAD system from Emergitech in the amount of $7,500. Both the $7,500 and the $53,178 equal the full amount of the grant of $60,678. So basically, I'm just trying to get all the housekeeping measures for the grant together.
I make a motion that we have the judge accept the grant and sign for the software and all the other things you said.
Second.
Moved and seconded, I'd be allowed to sign the grant application from Commercial Mobile Radio.
Not the grant application, the quote from PowerPhone.
I mean, sign the PowerPhone contract, right?
Yes.
We've got the money coming from
Yes.
these other people, so.
Yes, sir.
Is there any further discussion on that? Looks like a good deal to me, so.
100%.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, personnel action and board appointments. I'd like to ask Tina Schaaf to come forward here.
Good afternoon. We have several personnel actions today. The first few are at the Parks and Rec Department. We have a new hire, the Community Center Coordinator, Kathy Clore, at $15.50 per hour, effective June 1st.
All right. All in-
Make that motion,
Second.
moved and seconded, discussion.
Are we including all these hires for the Parks and Recreation? Or is that just the first line?
That's just the first one. I think we'll do this one. This is one we can do alone. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So, all right. Next item, let's take our building monitor and aquatic center hires all together here.
Okay, we have the building monitor, Hunter Hamilton, at $7.25 an hour, effective June 8th. We have a head guard, Michaela Olson, at $9.25 an hour, effective June 8th. A lifeguard, Taylor Ashby, $8.50 an hour, effective May 18th.
Make a motion to accept them, Judge.
Motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Maintenance.
For maintenance, we have a termination, Scott Compton, Recycling Center Manager, effective June 3rd.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Dispatch.
We have a demotion, Tom McCain, Telecommunicator 2, at $23.57 an hour, effective June 3rd.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Police.
We have a resignation, Officer Daniel Brown, effective June 11th.
Make a motion, we accept the resignation of Daniel Brown.
Got a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next.
We have a new hire, a police officer, a lateral, Larry Bo Simpson, base hourly rate $24.02, effective June 8th.
I would make that motion, Judge. I've talked to Chief Smith, and I also know that he's been backed up by Officer Collette and Officer Latham, and so I would make that motion that he be hired.
Second.
And second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I think we had enough discussion there that, or I'd like to ask you to go back, take a roll call vote on that. I don't think I could differentiate what went where there.
There were 3 against.
Against?
Yes.
Was, all right, 3 opposed, all right. Motion passes then.
Myself like it.
Next to hire,
We have police officer, it's another lateral, Dean Murray, base hourly rate of $24.02, effective June 20th.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda here, I'm sorry to announce the resignation of Don Basham from the Oldham Board. This was effective the first day of the month. Don is a retired executive or, top manager at the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm not exactly sure how many years he's been on the Oldham Board, but I'd say it's been 7 to 8, something like that. More than that, maybe not, well.
In the number of
Yeah, I believe he
hours.
came on the board the first year I came on the fiscal court, and that would have been 2007. So I thank him very much for his service, and he's been an excellent member, contributed a great deal to the Oldham-LaGrange Development Authority, and we'll miss his expertise. So I'd like to ask that you accept the resignation of Don Basham.
Regretfully.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. The amount of hours he put into that job, full-time job, if you ask me.
He did a tremendous amount. Right. Next, we have an appointment, a reappointment to the Code Enforcement Board here. Barry Hampton came on the board as a replacement for an individual who had was, I think, moved from Kentucky. He's done a great job, and I'd like to ask that he be reappointed to a term expiring June 18, 2019.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Time now for our second public comment. If there's anybody here who would like to address the fiscal court, you're able to do so. You have 4 minutes. I think most of our visitors today have left, so I'm going to close public comment. Go on and see if we have any other business here today that anyone would like to speak about. Magistrate Logston? Magistrate Dye? Oops. Okay.
I talked to the road engineer on Highway 22, and they were hoping the paving people would be back out Monday, but they're not there. So they'll be out there as soon as they can. The whole problem with that whole project was they ran into rock up there at 329 across from Waldeck, a lot more rock than they thought was going to be there. And the paving company just kept sitting there, and eventually they had to pull off and go to another job site. So they're finishing up that job site, and then they're coming back. They were hoping to be there Monday, but they're not there yet, so hopefully it'll be done within 2 to 3 weeks, is what the engineer told me, so.
All right, that'd be great. Appreciate that. Magistrate Dye?
Yes, Judge, 2 items. If you haven't found something for your young people to do, you might have this is your last opportunity for the Youth Experience 2016 at the Brownsboro Alliance Trail. It runs from the 13th through the 17th of June. So you're running down the last minute here to get with these people. If you have interest, it's open for people from 12 to 17 years of age. The number is 645-1870. Again, that's 645-1870. The second item I got a phone call from one of my constituents who lives in Broad Hill Estates, and I don't think he wants me to give his name because he doesn't like notoriety, but he went on and on about he's a gentleman who picks up the trash along the road on Broad Hill Parkway. He picks it up from Orchard Grass West out to Highway 22. And if you've been on that road, it's It's not all that long, but the gentleman is, and I won't give his age either, but he's older than anyone on this court. And he picks up the trash. Deputy Judge Black knows who I'm talking about, and he went on and on about how the cooperation between, not only when Judge Black was at the road department, but he said, I'm not now my fourth superintendent. He said, and they've been super to work with. That's his word, super. He said, I pick the trash up one day and they mow the grass the next. And if there's a problem with the grass, if it's wet, they'll call me or I'll call them and we'll get it together. He said, exact words, it's a whole lot easier to pick up one big cup from a local C-store than 100 little pieces of that cup.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share that, there's a public-private partnership that really goes right.
All right. Well, we appreciate whoever that person is and thank him for all of us.
Yeah.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
Magistrate Sparks.
Yeah, Judge, I just want to thank Sheila and Judge and Judge Black for helping with that resolution and getting it signed. It really made a big deal. There was a room full of scouts that saluted Mr. Reed as he left. He spent over 50 years in scouts with Troop 167, which is one of the most recognized in the country, with a lot of Eagles coming out of it and a lot of good leaders in our community. And I really appreciate that. Really made a difference, and thank you.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we're more than happy to give him that proclamation. And I wish we could give a proclamation to every person in this county that is a leader in helping kids and in doing something, and we try to point out as many as we can, and there's never too many good people in your community, and we thank everyone. So thank you to Mr. Robert Reed. Best of wishes to him. Measure Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. I just want to echo what you said about Don Basham. That guy just put in a million hours and worked really, really hard to try to make that thing effective and went a long way towards that. I mean, his expertise with the Army Corps of Engineers was invaluable. We'd had to pay for that. It would have cost a fortune. So anyway, thank you to him. Secondly, school's out, and there's a whole lot of happy bus drivers out there.
Our bus drivers, like kids, you're thrilled to get out of school at the end of school, but by August, September, you're ready to go back.
That's true.
Just need a break. All right, Magistrate Tice.
Nothing. Thank you, Judge.
Magistrate Likens.
God bless America. Thank you, Judge.
Good point. All right, Mr. Carter.
Yes, I have one public service announcement. Our office is charged with the collection of property taxes. When they become delinquent, if you did not pay your property taxes, they became delinquent April the 15th. The tax sale will be held by Julie Barr on August the 11th. If you haven't paid your property taxes and they are delinquent, the way you get your taxes, the way you avoid having your tax bills sold at auction, if you can't pay it in full, is to do an agreement with our office. So our office number is 222-7342.
Thank you. And I want to thank the Oldham County Health Department. Fight the bite. Let's all be aware of the Zika virus, and I don't know. You have to learn about what the symptoms are, because you can't really totally protect yourself against mosquitoes. We don't like them, but if you learn what the symptoms are, and if you develop a symptom, please get to your surgeon, your doctor right away, and protect mothers-to-be and others who could be impacted seriously by lifetime impaction lifetime if they get certain results from being exposed to the Zika virus. So thank all of you for being with us today. Our meeting's gone almost 3 hours, and I think we're all ready to stand up. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.